Haven't missed a class this semester, but to be fair, we only have had 1 week, so you know, 1 for 1. Hello, beautiful people of the internet. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hello. My name is Emma. It is very nice to meet you. This week, I'm going to talk about some things that I learned during my first semester of university and that I'm still figuring out now, because university is an endless cycle of learning. Isn't it marvelous, wonderful? Yes, so this is what I want to share with you this week, and I hope you enjoy it. You learn something from it. Maybe it helps you in any way, shape, or form. And without further ado, let's get into the video. The first thing is related to social events that you will get asked to once you start university. It is kind of two things that go together. The first one is learn to say no to things. You are going to get asked to a lot of different social events, especially in the beginning of the year, when you have all these types of mixers, parties, weekends, weeks to get to know new people. And by all means, do as many as you can and you feel like you can handle, because that is a great way to meet people and get engaged into the social situation of your university. However, put the emphasis on what you can handle, because you will burn out and get tired so quickly if you do too many social things that you really don't want to do or you are too tired to do. And nobody's going to gain anything from that, because you're not going to be your best self at that party or event. And you are going to be super unhappy because you're tired and you don't really want to be there. And generally, it's just going to be a terrible situation. And then the second thing that kind of goes with that is, when you're making a decision, always think about yourself first and then about the other person that may or may not be involved in this decision. And this sounds a bit egocentric, and I don't mean it in a way that you should discard anyone else's feelings, you should just only care about yourself. I mean it in a way that you can lose yourself quite quickly, because for me, for example, I really want to hang out with all my friends. I want to go to everything that I'm asked to, every housewarming, birthday party, but sometimes I put the other person in front of what I need and what my needs are, and that is just a very bad situation to be in, because that also can lead to you burning out or getting sick, being super tired, being super cranky all the time, and generally just not being happy and feeling like you are super overwhelmed and you never have time for yourself. So when someone asks you to do something and you feel in your heart that you don't want to do it, you just rather do either something else or just be home alone watching Netflix, because that's also sometimes very useful and very good for you, or you know you have to study, then just say no. And the person will understand if you have a good reason and if you explain it, and if they are really your friend, they will understand that you sometimes just have to think of yourself rather than think of the other person. The second thing is your living situation. Now, I know that in some countries it is custom to go to your university, live on campus, and you don't really have a choice about moving out. But I also know that there are a lot of countries where that is not necessarily custom. And I am here to tell you and advise you to go live in the place that you study. I didn't live where I studied in the beginning of the year, and that was quite a energy draining experience, so to say. Because first of all, going by train and by bus every single day from home to school and from school to home is very exhausting and very annoying. And you're gonna have to sleep over a lot at other people's places if you do want to go to these social events I was just talking about. And that's also gonna be draining. I had the luck of being able to sleep over at one of my best friend's places. Hi, if you're watching this, I love you. Thank you so much that you let me stay at your house basically 3 times a week. But besides me loving being able to stay with him, it also cost me a lot of energy, because you have to carry around extra underwear, an extra sweater or t-shirt, plus all the things you need for school, things you might need to bring to this party that you're going to, if it is I had a Halloween party, so I had to bring also my Halloween costume, for example, and that just takes so much more effort, and like it drains your energy, and it's really annoying. And it is nice to just come home after a long day of uni and be in your own place with your closet, your makeup, your own shower, your own bed. It just keeps you way more well rested. And also moving during the semester can be quite hard. I had to put together all my furniture, which my friends and family helped me with, so that was very nice, but still it takes up a lot of time, and you might not always be able to get people to come over to help you put together your IKEA puzzles. So that is also something that can be very inconvenient during the semester, because it was towards finals. I kind of had to study, but then I kind of had to move, so like that was just not a great situation to be in. And then once you are living on your own, make sure that you make your house and your room very homey. You most likely will be moving out of your parents' house for the first time, and there are going to be times that you miss your parents and you miss home, and you might not always be able to go home, or you don't want to go home because you love your room, but still you kind of miss that family sense. And for me especially, I live alone, so sometimes it can get a bit lonely. And what really helps is to have a room that is very homey, very cozy, and reflects who you are, and is a safe space, just so that you can feel your most comfortable even when you are sad or you are homesick. And it is also just very nice to come home to a very warm place that feels like it is your own, because I feel like that is really important. So invest as much as you can in that, because you're gonna be so happy around the times when you are feeling sad or anxious or panicky, whatever it might is that you are feeling. And then another thing for your room, make sure that there is enough storage space, because it is really nice to have a neat, clean room. It keeps your mind clear, especially when you are in your finals period or midterm period. Your mind can get a bit busy, and if you have a room that is nice and neat, it can clear up a lot of clogging and stress in your brain, so that you have room to think about other things. And having enough storage space really helps with that, because even if it is a mess in the closet or in the drawer, you can close it so you won't see it as much. And that is the thing that triggers like the mess in your mind the most, is when you see all these small things laying around everywhere. So make sure you have enough storage space. I would say that is one really important thing. And make your bed every morning. I didn't do this when I lived at my parents' house, and now I make my bed every single morning. It is a great start to your day. It is, for me, very prominent in my room, because everything is in one room. So if my bed is a mess, it's easier to get back in it. That's one thing, because you see the nice cozy blankets, and it's just like you can just roll up in it. And once you've made it, I don't know, it just is a sign that you are starting your day. And it just generally looks more neat, looks more clean. The next thing that is quite important is figuring out how you study best. When you get into your lectures and when you get into university, everyone will tell you, go to your classes, which makes a lot of sense. Please go to your classes when you can. I know it's very tempting to stay in bed when you have a 9 a.m. and I do that too much. But go to your classes, obviously, and do your readings. Now, this is the point that I kind of want to touch on. I love reading, but academically, I am not a big reader. It just doesn't work for me. I don't take anything in. Before I understand a page, it takes me an hour sometimes to really understand what it says, and then I still have to memorize it. So I know that for myself, and I have figured out a way for me to study best. That is, watch back the recorded lectures, because our lectures get recorded. Intensively watch them and make notes of them. I get notes 4 or 5 pages handwritten. It takes me 2 or 3 hours to get through a lecture, but then I know what the point is of the lecture that I have been watching. And then for the readings, I make sure that I read a summary from someone else. So I do read something, and I do this after the lecture so that I already kind of have the context of what it is about. But I don't read all the books that I have to read. And a lot of people have been telling me that you should read for this class and you don't have to read for this class. Last semester, I didn't really read for any of my classes and I passed all of them. So I know that is something that works for me. And if you know that something works or doesn't work for you, don't let anyone make you doubt that, because you know yourself the best. You know how you study best. So listen to that. And then if you do get insufficient grades, then maybe start listening to other people. But first, stick with what you know and stick with what works for you, because everyone essentially in the end learns differently and takes things in different ways. So find that whatever works for you and go with that. The last thing is more of a thing that I have been working on the past weeks. And I'm just kind of figuring out if that works for me. And I think it will. It is find things outside of university that have nothing to do with university. You can get in this little bubble, like this little university bubble, because everyone you know knows the same people as you, and you go to the same classes, you have the same teachers, you are in the same building all the time because if you are like me, you study at campus, which I love. I love all my friends at university. I love the people that I'm with, but it can get you can get a bit stuck in that little world, and it can feel so overwhelming, and it can feel like so much because that is all you are focusing on. So if you find a hobby that is not related to your university in no sense whatsoever, then it can really clear up your mind and make you forget university for a little bit. So I do this, I do YouTube, as you can tell because you are watching this video. If you made it up until this point, thank you very much. And I also am looking for singing lessons that are outside of university, that is just with me. And you know, that just gives me space to do stuff for myself, which is really nice. I think the most important stuff is just do stuff for yourself that make you happy, that don't have anything to do with your schoolwork, with the building that is your university, with the classes that you take in that building, and with all the people that you see there every single day. Even though you love them so very, very much, you also need time for yourself. That was my video for this week. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below with some tips or tricks that you learned during your however long you have been in university. I post videos every single Monday, so don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.